Carlos, I'll introduce you to the mob in it. So you've got Manj up top there, UKG producer. You must have heard of his stuff that he's been doing with his edits and whatnot. Been going off quite crazy.
You know what's
Felix,
funny? Man, do you do the Goodyear Challenger
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
I heard it on Asian Network the other day, and I was like, okay,
I was
that's interesting.
I set up for a bit of fun, I was like, let me just remix this tune and see what everyone's saying. And yeah, people liked it, so
I think it needed to be done. Like someone
yeah,
needed to do that,
yeah,
definitely.
here with the
yeah,
Speedy
yeah.
G twist, and then we've got Felix Dubs over here, Mr. P, aka Felix Dubs, the one and only legendary producer from Birmingham Way, making bare slappy rhythms for over 10 years plus. And you get me? That's Bunga, innit?
I'd say, are you used to like introducing them like that, or is that like completely off it? Because like, it
Yeah.
sounds really you're either really good at bigging them up, or you're so used to saying that like every time you introduce them.
I think
I
that's
just,
just medley, and it medley's got bare love
yeah,
and energy for everyone. So
it has to be said. It's no, if they ain't gonna say it, I gotta say it. If no one's gonna say it, I gotta say it.
Thanks so much to all three of you for taking the time to like speak to me like all at once. Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
man. No worries.
yeah, no worries, man.
Appreciate you getting us on, man. Like real talk. You get me? It's only right. I've seen what you man have been doing, and like it's sick.
Enough about bigging us up. Let's talk about you guys.
Yeah.
So obviously you've done the liberty of introducing yourselves, which I really appreciate. Tell me about what is Punga and why that name.
Basically, Bonga just means problem, like issue in Punjabi. So from what we've seen anyway, there's not much love for the South Asian people in the electronic music scene. I mean, last 2 years, London's been getting a bit of love, but nothing in the Midlands really. Like us three individually, we're all sick at what we do, and we just feel like we're not getting given the appreciation we should probably deserve. So Bongard basically stands as a means to like cause an issue and show people like, yo, we're hearing it, pay attention to us. And we also want to do the same for other people as well. So other people from the Midlands, especially South Asians, minorities who aren't getting the love that they deserve. So yeah, that's basically the roots of the name.
Would you say that at your core, what you would call yourselves is an electronic music collective? Or is there more of a niche area that you would put yourselves in?
I'd say between us, it's all that it's electronic music in it because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
140, it's grime, it's garage,
All
it's
of
all
that.
stuff that's comes under electronic music. Like we use the technology to make the music. So I would say, yeah, man, it's electronic music and it.
Just call it underground. Like that's the way I put it. I don't feel like if I say electronic, it sounds a bit fruity in my eyes, but like you know what I mean. I hear it though. I call it. It comes under that wing in it. It's underrepresented and whatnot, like underground. I just put it under that wing, but it is electronic at the core of it. Yeah,
It's all come from electronic equipment and that's the roots of these genres. They're stemmed
yeah, 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 true.
in drum machines and synthesizers and samplers. So, but not to like go like, yeah, we're not EDM, like that's electronic dance music,
Yeah,
like all that festival kind of stuff. That's not really what it is. It's more house, garage, grime, piano, jungle,
Nice.
breaks, all them kind of genres there.
How did you guys actually end up like meeting each other? Like, how did the collective come about?
We've known of each other like for a while. We've all like supported each other's music and what we do, and yeah, just thought it'd be a good idea just to get together and just make something out of it.
So, like, when you come together, obviously, I've seen like some of your like live mixes as well, and you all kind of like sort of you're aiding each other when
Yeah.
you're on the decks. Like, so what would you say that each of you bring, like, sound wise?
I'd say Felix has got the 140 piano house and some R&B, like soul, alternative R&B kind of vibes under his belt. Medley's obviously got everything. He's he's a he's a self proclaimed bear genre selector. So yeah,
yeah.
and then I've got house, garage, jungle breaks, some 140, and the alternative R&B as well. So I feel like individually we've all got our own fortes, but then we overlap as well.
And who would you say like are your main influences, both like individually and like as a collective? Like, are there people out there that are sort of doing it like what you're doing, or would you say that you're like a bit of like pioneers in terms of the variety of sound that you're actually bringing to the table?
Nusha count.
Nusha was more. more 140s kind of stuff and jungle in
Yeah.
it and drum and bass.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's covering from like 120
Yeah,
all the way to like 160, even like below 120. We've covered some R&B and soul as well in some of our shows. So I think it's quite hard to think of someone who's out there doing something comparable. But in terms of inspiration and stuff, there's obviously DJs that I look up to anyway. Like DJ Q is a massive inspiration of mine. Like every time I've seen him DJ live, it's just mad, crazy. And Punjabi MC as well. Like if you're talking on the production side of fusing Punjabi culture with the UK culture, I mean, he was the originator of that, and without him, we wouldn't have all the Punjabi garage that we had in the early 2000s.
Obviously, you've talked about like how you don't know whether there's anyone out there collectively that's doing it like what you're doing, but in terms of when you're going out and getting these gigs, like putting on these events, like obviously like right now we're on radio as well, would you say that there's much of a space for what you're doing, or are you having to sort of like craft it out for yourself and sort of like wedge your way into lots of different spaces? Do you know what I mean?
So I feel like when it comes to doing certain shows, we did a show in Birmingham in December for Calm, and I felt we had a good control over the room because we could play sort of Amaran House and then build it up through sort of 140s and then a bit of jungle and everything. And I feel we could encompass sort of certain things. So I would say in that aspect, like we can hold ourselves in it. Like we're not, you know what I mean? We can hold ourselves in sort of any arena, in my opinion. Unless you two think different, but I feel we can hold ourselves in most arenas.
Yeah, I feel like there's a bit of a niche as well for it because, like I said, it's covering loads of different genres, and yeah, I think in the last year we've got good reception. So doing something right, people obviously liking what we're doing. So yeah, man.
Obviously, like you're three brown guys, and like you mix in influences from Punjabi music, from South Asian music into your music, and like it sounds sick when you do that. But have you ever found that people are kind of either have these like pre-envisioned stereotypes of what you're meant to be doing, like when you put yourself forward? Say if you'd sent them the picture of you guys that we've used for the poster, would they like be like, oh, are these like, do you reckon people's minds immediately go to thinking, oh, these are let's say something a bit more like what Daytimers are doing, where they're very much like centered in South Asian is the like main identity of what they're doing, whereas for you guys I'd say it's a lot more like varied, and it's kind of like where it works you might bring in those influences. Like, do you find that people have those preconceptions, or have people being am I being prejudging of what people would think?
Is it the name of it?
I get what you're saying, because a lot of times when I tell people like, oh, I do music, they'll be like, oh, what do you do, Bhangra? Like, so, you know what I mean?
Individually, not really, because I've kind of just told people from the get-go what I do, what I'm about. Before they could even have that stereotype, I'll just say, listen, I make garage music, I DJ garage music. I listen to Bhangra, I enjoy it, but it's not my number one thing, and it's not the only thing that I do and I'm interested in. And I think with regard to Bhangra, it's difficult to comment on what stereotypes people are gonna have in their heads, because like whatever they're thinking is what they're thinking. But I feel like it's one thing we try not to focus too much around being, oh, with South Asian this, because then people are going to have that stereotype, and then basically don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into that identity of we're brown, so we must do Asian music. We're brown guys who are doing underground UK music, and there's hundreds of us in the country. There's probably thousands of us in the country that exist who listen to this music and DJ this music, and we know about 5 people who are in the scene when there should be way more. So I think that's the general idea of Bhangra, is to kind of show, listen, South Asian people don't just listen to Bhangra music, and we don't just listen to Asian Network. We actually listen to like Rinse FM, we listen to Represent, we listen to all these other shows, and we listen to this other music as well.
I think you nailed it on the head there as well. And I think especially for us, that it's about the music and the Midlands identity being really represented, where one of my friends messaged me recently. He asked for like a list of DJs from up north, and the certain names I was given, I even thought for a second, I was like, there's way more than this, surely, but there isn't. And I feel like for us, we want to represent that, and that may inspire someone down the line to go, you know what I mean? These guys are not far from where I am. I want to do my thing as well. And you know what I mean? Keep the waves coming, because that's what matters at the end of the day.
With that in mind as well, would you say that like representing the Midlands is something that's like quite important to you as 3 people hailing from that area?
100%.
Definitely.
All day.
100%, yeah.
No, I think it's really nice to see that as well, because obviously being Northern, I am fully like championing this whole like, why does everything have to be in London, like this, that, like I'm like done it like even with work and stuff, I'm trying to push as much as I can to like not have to go places, because I shouldn't have to go like get a 2 hour train just to do stuff, you know what I mean? But within that conversation, I feel like a lot of the time the Midlands kind of maybe does get forgotten about, because it's very much like a north-south divide, and then it's like people maybe forget that there is this sort of like in-between area that's not really getting like the attention that it deserves. So definitely having people like you guys to actually like put it in front of people and say like, no, we are here, like there are plenty of people in this area as well that are doing it good and potentially even better than some of the people down south as well. So like, you should like give us a chance and give us these opportunities as well, for sure. Obviously, you're gonna play a mix in a second, but before we get on to that, like, what's the goal for PNGA? Obviously, it's been around for like you said, like around a year, and already it's got a growth, it's got a name for itself, that sort of thing. Where do you want it to go? Like, let's say, like, by the time you're approaching your 2-year anniversary in a year's time, like, where would you like to be?
My 2-year goal is to say that we've done a couple of events. We've got a reoccurring amount of events going on. And, we're just representing for the Midlands with wicked DJs and just, you know what I mean? And people are turning around saying, yo, them Bonga guys, they're doing something up there in the Midlands that people want to come and see, because you can't see it anywhere else, Like the way music is and should kind of be in a certain sense, for like, if you want to go, you go to certain places, you go to certain raves to see certain artists and sort of certain crowds. Like there's a whole thing going on in the Midlands that should be seen, and I feel that's one of our like big goals personally, and to like churn out our own music, because we've done some Bandcamp releases as well. Like one of the main focuses is us releasing our own music as well.
Yeah, no, echoing what Bentley's saying, really. Obviously get some regular consistent bookings in, maybe like do a few festivals, who knows, don't want to write nothing off. Also, with regards to Bonga as a platform, help other DJs, other producers from the Midlands who want to get involved, get into the scene, maybe have some releases on Bonga as well, merch as well. We got more merch coming, because people are on our case about t-shirts. Should have some collaborations landing soon as well. So that's another thing we want to put a bit more focus into as well.
And if people do want to like follow your journey, like potentially get merch when it does come out, that sort of thing, like where's the best place for them to find you and listen to your music, that sort of thing?
So Instagram, PNGA with 4 underscores. It's a bit of a long one, but PNGA was taken, so we just slapped 4 underscores at the end because it's jokes. Yeah, everything's on Insta really, isn't it? And then SoundCloud as well. SoundCloud.com/PNGA CRTL. And then through those you can find our links to everything else. So you can find our Bandcamp links, you can find everything really.